Hey guys, today's story is more powerful than you think.
Nobody in the Celestial Nexus Academy ever forgot the sound the predator made when it entered the cafeteria. It wasn't a roar. It wasn't even loud. It was worse. A low, vibrating growl that rolled through the floor like distant thunder and triggered instinctive terror in nearly every species present. Trays crashed onto tables. Conversations died mid-sentence. Translation implants buzzed with emergency threat warnings while students from over 200 civilizations froze where they stood beneath the glowing silver dome of the Academy's Grand Commons. At the far entrance, towering above the crowd, stood one of the deadliest creatures in explored space. A full-grown Vortack hunter. Nearly 3 meters tall, covered in layered black scales reinforced with natural metallic fibers, its massive shoulders scraping the archway as glowing yellow eyes scanned the room with predatory intensity. Stories about the Vortack spread across the galaxy like horror myths told to children. They came from a high-gravity death world where entire ecosystems evolved around brutal survival. Their claws could puncture starship plating. Their jaws exerted enough force to crack combat armor. Entire colonies had surrendered rather than face Vortack warpacks in open conflict. And now one of them had entered a civilian cafeteria, carrying something carefully against its chest. The realization hit seconds later. Babies. 2 Vortack hatchlings clung to the massive predator's armored torso, chirping and growling softly while their undeveloped claws scraped against her scales. Every survival instinct in the room screamed danger. Students backed away immediately. Several smaller species hid beneath tables. Security drones descended from ceiling compartments and hovered anxiously near the exits waiting for violence to begin. Then the smaller hatchling spotted the human. Across the cafeteria, seated alone beside a towering panoramic window overlooking the stars, 22-year-old Mason Reed looked up from his datapad just in time to see the little creature leap free from its mother's grasp and sprint directly toward him across the room. Panic exploded instantly. "Move away from it," someone screamed. "Human, run," another shouted. But Mason didn't run. Instead, to the absolute horror of everyone watching, he crouched down calmly and held out his hand as the miniature apex predator charged straight toward him with tiny claws clicking against the floor. The hatchling reached him seconds later, sniffed his fingers curiously, then head-butt his leg with a happy growl. Silence swallowed the cafeteria whole. Mason blinked once in surprise before breaking into a grin. "Oh, you're adorable," he said naturally. The hatchling immediately climbed onto him like an oversized reptilian puppy. Across the room, hundreds of alien students stared in stunned disbelief while the adult Vortack froze mid-step, clearly unsure how to process what she was seeing. "Mason," whispered his roommate Tulek from behind a table, his 4 eyes wide with terror. "That is not a domestic creature." Mason scratched gently beneath the hatchling's jaw ridge while the tiny predator vibrated with obvious pleasure. "Yeah, well," he replied casually, "it kinda acts like my neighbor's dog back home." Several students nearly fainted from shock at those words alone. The adult Vortack finally approached slowly, each heavy footstep echoing through the cafeteria. Security drones locked onto her instantly but hesitated to fire while the Academy's emergency AI repeatedly announced warnings about maintaining safe distance from dangerous fauna. Yet Mason remained completely relaxed even as the towering predator stopped directly in front of him. Up close, the creature was terrifying. Scarred scales. Massive claws. Eyes capable of freezing experienced soldiers in place. But Mason noticed something else too. Exhaustion. Concern. The universal expression of a stressed parent trying not to lose control while their child caused chaos in public. The second hatchling waddled toward him next, chirping excitedly before climbing onto the bench beside its sibling. Mason laughed softly. "Okay, there's 2 of you. Great. I'm definitely getting attached now." The adult Vortack stared down at him for several long seconds before finally speaking through her translator collar. "You do not fear them." Her voice sounded like grinding stone. Deep. Dangerous. Mason shrugged slightly. Should I? The question genuinely seemed to confuse her. They are Vortack. Yeah, but they're babies. More silence followed. The predator's head tilted slightly as if trying to understand a language it had never heard before. Around the cafeteria, students cautiously peeked over tables or from behind pillars while recording devices activated everywhere. Nobody wanted to miss this. The human was petting Death World predators like household animals. Your species lacks survival instinct, muttered one insectoid student nervously. Mason heard him and laughed. Nah. Humans just work differently. He reached into his bag and pulled out a protein ration bar, breaking off a small piece for the hatchlings who accepted it eagerly. The adult Vortack watched the interaction with visible suspicion. You feed predators by hand? All the time back home, Mason answered. Dogs, cats, horses, birds, reptiles. Humans have been befriending dangerous animals for thousands of years. The translator drone struggled briefly before projecting confused reactions across nearby tables. Humans intentionally cohabitate with predators? One student asked. Oh yeah, Mason replied proudly. Some of our best friends used to hunt us. That statement sent another wave of shocked whispers across the room. The Vortack female slowly lowered herself onto the reinforced seating opposite him, metal supports creaking beneath her weight. Explain. Mason smiled because he recognized the tone immediately. Curiosity replacing hostility. Humans were good at spotting that shift. A long time ago, he began, Earth was dangerous. Really dangerous. Big predators everywhere. Wolves, bears, giant cats, stuff with venom, stuff bigger than cars. Humans survived because we learned patterns. We learned animals weren't just threats. Some could become partners. One hatchling crawled into his lap while the other curled against his side, both making soft rumbling sounds. We fed wolves. The friendlier ones stayed near us. Eventually they became dogs. Same thing with other animals over time. You altered predators into companions, the Vortack murmured. Pretty much. Mason scratched behind the smaller hatchling's neck. Humans are persistence predators too. We're not the strongest species on Earth, but we're stubborn. And once humans stop seeing something as an enemy, he grinned, we usually try to pet it. Actual laughter spread through parts of the cafeteria at that. Nervous at first, then genuine. Even some security drones quietly withdrew as tension began fading from the room. The Vortack female observed her hatchlings carefully. They looked completely relaxed around the human. Safe. Happy, even. That clearly unsettled her more than aggression would have. Among my people, she admitted slowly, young are taught fear from birth. The galaxy fears us. We fear stronger things in return. Mason nodded thoughtfully. Humans used to live like that too. But eventually we figured out fear all the time is exhausting. And your solution was companionship? Sometimes. He glanced down at the hatchling sleeping against him already. Sometimes understanding works better than fighting. The room had fully transformed by now. Students cautiously returned to tables while keeping fascinated eyes fixed on the bizarre scene unfolding near the window. Messages spread across academy networks at unbelievable speed. Human student befriends Vortack hatchlings. Witnesses confirm physical contact survived. Security status downgraded from critical threat to cuddling? Professors abandoned lectures to watch live recordings. Somewhere deep in the station, academy administrators argued whether this counted as diplomacy or reckless insanity. Probably both. What are their names? Mason asked suddenly. The Vortack seemed surprised by the question. The larger is Karik. The smaller is Vesha. Mason smiled warmly. Hey, Karik. Hey, Vesha. Both hatchlings chirped happily at hearing their names. Nearby students stared in disbelief again. They respond positively to vocal affection, noted one observer quietly. Of course they do, Mason said. Most social animals do. You speak as if this is ordinary. Mason shrugged again. Honestly, compared to some stuff on Earth, this kinda is. The Vortack female released a deep rumbling sound. It took the translators several attempts before identifying it correctly. Amusement. Your species is deeply irrational. Absolutely, Mason agreed proudly. But it works. Hours later, recordings of the encounter spread far beyond the Academy itself. Across interstellar networks, billions watched footage of a human casually petting apex predators feared by entire civilizations. Military analysts debated whether humans possessed some unknown empathic ability. Scientists proposed theories involving death-world behavioral overlap. Psychologists concluded humanity's survival instincts were apparently broken in strangely functional ways. But the students who actually witnessed the event understood something far simpler. The human hadn't seen monsters. He had seen children. And somehow that difference changed everything. As the cafeteria lights dimmed into evening cycle, Mason remained seated beside the panoramic window with both Vortack hatchlings asleep against him while their mother watched silently nearby. Finally she spoke again, her deep voice quieter than before. Perhaps, she said slowly, the galaxy misunderstands strength. Mason looked up. How so? Her glowing eyes shifted toward her peacefully sleeping children. We taught our young survival through fear. Your species teaches survival through bonds. Mason smiled faintly. Humans still fight when we have to. I believe that, she replied. But you also choose trust when others would choose terror. Neither spoke for a moment after that. Beyond the station window, stars burned silently across endless darkness. And inside the grand commons of Celestial Nexus Academy, hundreds of alien students watched one impossible truth unfold before their eyes. The most dangerous creature in the room had never been the giant apex predator from a death world. It had been the fearless little human willing to walk up to danger, smile at it, and try to make friends. And if you enjoyed this HFY sci-fi story, subscribe to Coming the HFY for more epic human moments, alien reactions, galactic adventures, and incredible stories where humanity proves that sometimes compassion is more powerful than fear.